Sergio Pérez and Valtteri Bottas would rather join a team that doesn't even exist yet than drive for Alpine. Let me say that again. Two veteran F1 drivers, one with 6 Grand Prix wins, the other with 10, are choosing to sign with Cadillac for 2026 rather than take an available seat at an established team with actual infrastructure, actual cars, and actual points on the board. That's not just rejection, that's a level statement about how Alpine is toxic. But here's where it gets interesting. Alpine isn't just losing the driver market battle, they're actively destroying their own drivers mid-season. Jack Doohan lasted 6 races. 6! Franco Colapinto might not make it to the end of the year. And who is responsible? A 75-year-old who was banned from F1 for orchestrating one of the sport's biggest scandals. Let's break down why Alpine has become Formula One's most radioactive seat. 6 team principals in 5 years. Let that sink in. Cyril Abiteboul, Davide Brivio, Ottmar Schaffnauer, Bruno Famin, Oliver Oakes, and now, technically, Flavio Briatore. That's not leadership, that's musical chairs. Oliver Oakes didn't even make it to race 7 of 2025. The 37-year-old resigned. Officially, it was his personal decision. But paddock sources whispered a different story. Briatore had already informed Jack Doohan he was out before telling Oakes. Imagine being the team principal and finding out your driver has been fired after the fact. In true F1 fashion, Oakes tried to be diplomatic. Flavio has been like a father to me. Sure, Oliver, the kind of father who undermines you at every turn. Oakes joined in July 2024, knowing Briatore was already there as executive advisor. That title? Complete smoke and mirrors. Briatore runs Alpine like it's 1994, making unilateral decisions while the supposed team principal becomes a glorified spokesperson for choices he didn't make. Oakes was forced to defend keeping Doohan in countless press conferences.
Jack needs to continue doing a good job.
Can you confirm that Jack will be in the car?
Yeah, I mean, as it is today, Jack is our driver along with Pierre. I think we've been clear on that. I mean, we always evaluate it, but yeah, today that is the case.
While Briatore was literally negotiating Colapinto's arrival behind closed doors. The power structure at Alpine is so dysfunctional that when Renault CEO Luca De Meo stepped down recently, nobody even knew who was actually in charge. Briatore reports to Jean-Dominique Senard now, assuming that arrangement survives the week. Meanwhile, potential buyers are circling like vultures. One consortium reportedly offered the biggest takeover bid in F1 history. Alpine's response? Not interested, because apparently chaos is the strategy. Let's talk about what Alpine did to Jack Doohan. This wasn't just harsh, it was calculated cruelty. The Australian waited 3 years as a reserve driver. 3 years! He finally gets his shot, makes his debut in Abu Dhabi 2024, and before he'd even turned a wheel in anger for 2025, Alpine signed Franco Colapinto as a reserve driver. Everyone knew what that meant. Doohan had a target on his back from day one. The paddock was asking him about being replaced before he'd even scored his first point. Can you imagine every mistake magnified, every crash dissected, knowing that your replacement is literally sitting in the garage, waiting? Miami was the death blow. Turn 1, lap 1, collision with Liam Lawson. Not entirely Doohan's fault, but that didn't matter. Briatore had already decided. The press release called it a rotation, like they're managing a fantasy football team, not human careers. But here's where Alpine's incompetence reaches new heights. Colapinto's deal is a 5-year loan from Williams. Alpine paid £8.5 million for the privilege of developing another team's driver. James Vowles must be laughing all the way to the bank. 8 races in, Colapinto has 0 points. He's crashed twice in qualifying, Imola and Silverstone. Briatore's already making noises about evaluating everything. Paddock insiders suggest if Colapinto doesn't score soon, Valtteri Bottas might get a call. That's right, Alpine's backup plan for their backup plan is Mercedes' backup driver. Alpine just announced they're ditching their own power units for Mercedes engines in 2026. Sounds smart, right? Except this decision came after 40 years of Renault involvement in F1. 12 constructors' titles, 11 drivers' championships, all thrown away because they couldn't figure out hybrid technology. The current Renault power unit is universally acknowledged as the weakest on the grid. Pierre Gasly, bless him for sticking around, has been dragging that underpowered brick to occasional points, finishes through sheer willpower. When your star driver's biggest achievement is making Q3 sometimes, you know there's a problem. But it's not just about power. It's about what this decision represents. Alpine is admitting defeat. They're going from a works team to a customer outfit. In F1 terms, that's like going from owning the restaurant to begging for table scraps. Mercedes will supply them engines, sure, but guess who gets the best specs? Mercedes. Guess who gets preferential treatment? Mercedes. Alpine will be fighting McLaren and Williams for the third best Mercedes-powered car. Briatore tried to spin this as focusing resources on chassis development. The real translation? Renault saved hundreds of millions by shutting down Viry-Châtillon, put 500 people out of work, and essentially admitted they can't compete at F1's highest level. No wonder Bottas is hesitating even for a temporary drive. Olaf Moll put it perfectly. If Bottas gets into Alpine now and Gasly gives him a beating every week, he can forget about that Cadillac deal. The risk-reward calculation is brutal. Now picture this. You're Sergio Pérez. You've just been unceremoniously dumped by Red Bull after years of playing second fiddle to Verstappen. Your confidence is shattered, but you still have 6 Grand Prix wins to your name. Alpine calls. What do you see? You see a team that just replaced their rookie after 6 races. You see a 75-year-old executive advisor who was literally banned from F1 for race fixing. You see a power unit program in shambles, a revolving door of leadership, and a car that's been lapped in multiple races this season. You see 10th place in the Constructors' Championship with 20 points from 14 races. Then Cadillac calls. Brand new team. Clean slate, General Motors backing, no baggage, no Briatore. The choice is obvious. Valtteri Bottas faced the same calculation. Mercedes offered to loan him to Alpine. Toto Wolff even had a 30-minute meeting with Briatore about it. But Bottas has been around long enough to recognize a sinking ship. He saw what Alpine did to Doohan. He's watching what they're doing to Colapinto. Why would he put himself in that firing line? Robert Dornbos suggested there might be more to it. Alpine could be saying, "We'll let Bottas drive now, then we want a discount on the engines next season." Even their driver negotiations are transactional. It's not about building a team or developing talent. It's about leveraging assets for engine discounts. The message from the driver market is crystal clear. Alpine has become F1's toxic waste dump. When drivers would rather bet on an unproven startup than join your established operation, you've got problems that go way deeper than car performance. Let's address the elephant in the paddock. Flavio Briatore shouldn't be anywhere near Formula One. This is a man who ordered Nelson Piquet Jr. to deliberately crash at Singapore 2008 to help Fernando Alonso win. He was banned for life, later overturned on a technicality, but the stain remains. Now he's back, running Alpine like it's his personal kingdom. He signs drivers without consulting the team principal. He fires them mid-season on a whim. He negotiates commercial deals based on South American sponsorship potential rather than driving talent. Mercado Libre joined Alpine as a sponsor before Colapinto even had a race seat. That tells you everything about the priorities. Briatore's management style belongs in a museum. He still thinks F1 operates like it did when he was winning titles with Schumacher and Alonso. Newsflash, it doesn't. Modern F1 requires stability, long-term planning, and sophisticated technical development. Briatore offers none of that. He offers chaos, controversy, and nepotism disguised as experience. The French staff at Enston must be watching in horror. This is a team with genuine pedigree, world championships as Benetton and Renault, reduced to a gladiatorial arena where drivers fight for survival while a reality TV show plays out in the boardroom. Here's why this matters so much for 2026. New regulations, complete reset. Theoretically, Alpine could nail the new rules and leap up the grid. But who's going to drive for them? They've burned Doohan, they're burning Colapinto. They've been rejected by Pérez and Bottas. Their lead driver, Pierre Gasly, must be counting down the days until his contract expires. The junior driver pipeline? What pipeline? They've just shown every young driver that Alpine is where careers go to die. Meanwhile, their competitors are building for the future. Mercedes has Russell and Antonelli locked down. Ferrari has Leclerc and whoever they poach next. McLaren has Piastri and Norris sorted through 2028. Even Cadillac, a team that doesn't exist yet, has more driver stability than Alpine. The Mercedes power unit might be competitive in 2026, but what good is a great engine if you can't find anyone willing to drive the car? One thing is certain, Alpine has become the red flag of modern Formula One. They have the budget, the infrastructure, and soon a Mercedes engine. What they don't have is leadership, stability, or basic respect for their drivers. The saddest part? Somewhere in Enstone there are hundreds of talented engineers and mechanics trying to build a competitive car while their management plays Game of Thrones in the boardroom. They deserve better. The sport deserves better. Will Alpine sort this out? History suggests not. This is their 6th consecutive year of dysfunction. At some point, Renault needs to either commit fully or sell to someone who will. This halfway house of minimal investment and maximum chaos isn't working. The paddock is watching, and what they see is a team that treats drivers like disposable commodities, changes leadership like underwear, and operates on the management philosophy of a 1990s crime family. In true F1 fashion, it's spectacular entertainment. But for anyone considering driving for them, it's career suicide. So here's my question for you. If you were a driver, any driver, would you sign for Alpine right now? Or would you take your chances with literally any other option, including sitting out a season? Let me know in the comments, because from where I'm standing, Alpine's driver search is about to get a lot more desperate. And when a team starts calling drivers who've been out of F1 for years, you know the cage isn't just rattling, it's completely fallen apart. Hit subscribe if you want to watch this disaster continue to unfold, because trust me, we're only halfway through this season and Alpine's chaos has only just begun.